All right. Hey, welcome out there to our New Hampshire Cross Country podcast, powered by Runner's Alley. If you're watching, hopefully you're on newhampshirecrosscountry.com, or we are now on Spotify. So give us a like and a review, please.
Spotify.
Yeah. We came up with a name, we think. So I think we're going to go with New Hampshire Cross Talks.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys like that. Give us some feedback on that.
Please be nice.
Yeah. And so New Hampshire Crosstalks, like I said, give us some feedback. So again, we're here talking to all of you about everything New Hampshire cross country. That's our goal. Just all things New Hampshire cross country, which is like my favorite topic in the entire world.
All fall long. It's my favorite topic in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it even smells like cross country right now.
Oh, it does.
Yeah,
and it's a beautiful day out there in southern New Hampshire.
Yeah, yep.
Real excited to get out to practice.
Yeah,
it's rained on for 2 hours. It's gonna be a good one.
So good, so good. So also, Mr. French and I were just talking about how we were thinking we would love to have some guests on our show. And we thought maybe we'd just throw it out to you guys to give us some suggestions on people you would like to see here with us.
We don't even necessarily just mean New Hampshire people either.
Yeah.
Like, the nice thing about the track and field world is I feel like it's kind of small in some regards. And I don't think the people who get like real good get overly like, I'm really self-important now,
Right.
and I wouldn't be bothered with the New Hampshire Cross Country podcast. So like, I feel like if we reach out to somebody that you guys want to see, we're hoping that we'll be like pleasantly surprised, and they'll be like, absolutely, I can give you guys like 15 minutes or something, and that they would just come and chat with us. But we want to know who you guys like. We know who we want to hear. But like, this isn't for us. This is for you. So tell us.
Tell us.
You got this comment section. Throw out there and aim for the stars, right?
Yeah. And you know what? If you see us at a meet, come and talk to us. I know at Manchester Invitational, which we're going to talk about, we had some people come up to us that said that they were enjoying the podcast. I got some feedback, which I love. So if you see us at meets, come up and talk to us and tell us like what you think and give us some feedback, because we're doing this for you guys.
It is. It's all about making you guys happy and trying to make it a good time.
Yeah. So with that, how can we not start with Manchester Invitational?
Right. I mean, it's like the big one for New Hampshire prior to the divisional meets, right? So like pretty much everybody goes. Like on the boys' side, we had the whole top 10 was there.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty awesome.
It's so awesome. So, I mean, that was a huge day. I feel like it was a really fast day.
Yeah. So one of the things I was actually thinking about was like, did you feel like the course was maybe a little short after they made a couple little changes?
Well, it was a fast day.
Yeah. I don't know. I got to. So for those who don't know, I'm in a boot right now. I damaged my foot, but I dragged my butt all the way up to the top of the ski hill, and I got up. Oh, I sure did. It took me 25 minutes to walk up there, like a crazy person. But I got up there, and I was like, "Whoa! What?" They had knocked down a bunch of the trees.
Okay, I didn't even get up there.
Oh yeah, and it like turned a bit tighter. So I'm like, "Oh, I wonder if this made a difference at all," because the times were pretty quick.
They were. I mean, I would say it wasn't unusually wet and muddy there. I mean, it was muddy, but it was not.
I thought it was nicer than I was expecting. I thought it was going to be real.
And then also, I mean, I think it's about the best temps that we get there, because usually it's hot and humid. So we did have that too.
I remember that year, like 5 or 6 years ago, it was so hot and the ambulance had to keep coming back and picking people up, and it would leave and then just to basically turn around and come back again. The humidity was nuts one year.
Disgusting. Yeah. And especially with those late races and stuff, and it gets really hot. So I think the weather was perfect. The course was prime, and it was just a great day overall.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was fun to watch.
Fun. Yeah. So let's start with the freshman race.
Well, I feel like you have to start.
Yeah.
Because why? Why do you have to start?
Well, we did have Suki Folsom in the freshman race. We were super excited to have her race it, and she did win the freshman race in 13:20. So shout out to Suki, and she likes to say,
shout out to you.
Oh, well,
great coaching, obviously.
Yeah, well, it hasn't been that long yet, but we're enjoying her on the team. She's a great addition, and she's positive and just a team player. So she really I thought ran very smart. And I know she felt like she hadn't conquered that course in middle school. So I think that was a really great day for her.
She got the monkey off her back.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And through the new arches, with the new finish line.
Yeah.
So cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you got to start your day off just sky high, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. The freshman race, I feel like, always sets the tone for the day for the kids. And it certainly did. And I'm just going to say to everybody, we're going to shout out to Suki, and it's like Cookie. So if you want to know how to pronounce it, Suki like cookie, she says. So yeah, so she had a great race, and there were some definitely some strong teams, right? Because we had Hanover and Bedford that went 2 and 3 overall.
Like,
and
it was a good race for New Hampshire, that
right.
freshman race.
And when you
on
can
the girls' side.
when you can field a freshman team, a solely freshman team in that race, then you know you're deep.
Yeah, and that's
Really
probably
deep.
one of the things you guys don't realize is like, we don't get to pick who shows up to try out for teams and stuff like that. And you have years where you're like, oh man, I got 7 freshmen.
Mhm.
Hey, I can actually score at Manchester. And then other years you get like 3 and you're like, well, that's a bummer. I guess we don't count.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a really cool day. We had some Massachusetts teams too, which we never see. So we don't even know what to expect.
Oh yeah.
Some Needham girls in the race that were outstanding. So on the girls' side, it was really awesome. How about the boys' side?
I enjoyed watching the boys' side, So again, a reminder, I'm Londonderry for cross country, and then I go Pinkerton in the fall, or in the winter and spring. So I kind of cheer for both, and especially in races like that are not, quite as high stakes. And so watching a Pinkerton guy go number 2 in the race, only losing to one Vermont guy, and man, did they battle. It was a really fun race to watch because they were like shoulder to shoulder coming down the hill and everything. And it really didn't see much separation until right towards the very end.
The end. Yep. Yeah, right at the end.
And we also saw Jack Mortimer have a great run. And obviously, he's the reigning middle school champion. So
can I pay somebody for those genes, man? Like that genetic. Like outstanding. Holy. If he isn't set up for amazing things to come, with 2 really great parents that are all about New Hampshire running in general, and then I mean outstanding resumes themselves, and even nicer people.
Absolutely.
Man, so sign me up for those genetics.
Right? And so it was fun seeing the New Hampshire guys do well, and then the teams did pretty well. Pinkerton was second. I think they lost to Essex, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
That Essex team's pretty good,
right?
This Vermont squads, and we could talk a little bit more of that was just general as we go along, because Vermont had kind of a dominant day, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, maybe it's all the hills there, right?
Clearly, it's those green mountains, man.
Right. Yeah. How about the JV races?
I thought the JV races were pretty good too. How did you feel about how your JV runners did?
Well, we only had a couple in the race. I was not disappointed with anybody's race throughout the day. And I think that's probably a negative way to say it. And I don't mean it to be negative, but meaning like we were just really pleased with everybody's races. Our 2 JV racers, one of them ran a 1.5-minute PR on the course.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then the other one had a debut of under 24 minutes, like a 23:40.
Yeah.
So shout out to Priya, who ran a 23:40. So, and they were right, like kind of in the middle of the pack. So really strong races on the JV side. Across the board.
And then, the New Hampshire runners did pretty well. So let's see. I had Matt Motherway. Hopefully I said that right. Was the top boy. And he came from South. But Hanover's JV teams were,
right.
They won them both. They won boys and girls. And, they're not a huge school. So to see their JV streams coming through on both sides and coming in with the W is pretty impressive.
Right. And again, their freshman race too. So we'll talk more about that a little bit, I think, later in terms of depth of teams and the importance there.
So the boys JV teams, they had 6 guys break 19.
Wow.
My whole varsity was under 19.
That's
and
incredible.
they had their varsity plus another 6 dudes.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's some depth right there.
Yeah.
The girls team was also awesome. They had 4 in the top 20.
Wow. Yeah.
They got a great thing going on right there. Now, the top girl was from Plymouth Regional. I think this girl must have just had a day, because if you looked at the result, her name is Anna Boyer,
right?
And she would have been Plymouth's 3rd, and she bet in the varsity
incredible,
race.
right?
So
and
I don't know if she just all of a sudden their coach must be like, where did that come? It does happen, right? Occasionally you have people that just, you watch them race and
in a course like that.
It's like they were possessed.
And I have to say, I think she had a perfectly executed race, right? Because she did not stand out to me when they were coming up the hill. And then by the time she came down the hill, she was all by herself. Like I almost said, where did she come from? All by herself. So it was a really smart
that second mile, man. That's the one.
Yeah.
If you can find a way to sort of not, you run up that big hill and it's so easy to crest that thing, and to some degree kind of call it quits for a couple minutes because you're beat.
Mhm.
You know, that first mile tends to go pretty quick, but then that hill, it's a wall of sorts, and
Right.
it's so easy, you know, mentally to just be like, I gotta take it easy. That hill it's 400, 500 meters long.
Sure.
It's steep and it's kind of soft footing sometimes.
Yeah, it gets messy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like, you know, you just get up to the top and you see if you stand there, you watch a lot of runners go into sad form mode. Where's that like the shoulders get all stumpy.
Right.
They're just like,
Yeah.
and they're struggling mentally. And it seems like the people who really like crush Manchester are the ones who get to the top, and you don't see them staring down. They're looking at like, all right, who's there to get?
Right.
Like, can I get some
With
people
no fear on that downhill.
Right. And it's super hard though. It's a hard thing to do.
It is. Yeah. When I go practice with the team, I have fear on the downhill. They're so much stronger than me. So much more risk taking. You know what I mean? You get old and you're afraid you're gonna fall.
You don't want to
wanna
end up in
hear
a boot,
about that.
Amy.
Yeah.
I've had a rough 3 weeks.
Right,
It's
yeah.
not fun.
No,
So
thank
be
you.
careful.
No, thank you. So anyways, I would like to talk about the small school varsity race on the girls' side.
You should do that.
Holy moly. So I don't know if you all felt this way, but if there were questions about who might be the New England champion for a female, I don't know. I think we've kind of, I don't want to say sealed the deal, but she definitely came out strong.
I had no questions.
Strong.
and then she just made sure to remind me that I had no questions.
Yeah. So Ruth White, she actually ran what, at 17:20?
Something like that.
And she broke the course record at Manchester by like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And shout out to Leia.
The meet record.
Oh, the meat. Yeah, the meat record.
Right.
That's what I meant.
Because
I'm
Hannah
sorry. Thank
Balsey, I
you.
think
Yeah,
was her
she
name.
has a 17:15. That's the overall
It's
course
funny,
record.
and they were both kind of like small stature runners,
Right.
And she had a very similar feel watching them run.
Totally.
That they just power,
Yeah.
like not a big package, but just power.
But let's just talk about the fact that she ran a 17:20 and it's like September.
Yeah,
That's my
when Hannah
point.
did it was
Holy
the
moly,
first week
New
of
England.
November. Yeah.
Yeah. And probably people closer pushing her. I mean,
Oh
So-
no. I remember that
so,
race.
Yeah. I mean, I
She
remember
killed
her.
everybody.
Yeah.
I always would run to the top of that race, and I generally didn't, when the girls races, I didn't have to run quite as hard. I always liked that. And that year I'm running down the path to get to the top of the ski hill, and she comes tearing around the corner, and I was like,
Incredible.
oh my gosh,
Right.
this girl is screaming.
Yeah. So, I mean, Ruth to run a 17:20 there right from, and then I was going to say, shout out to Leia from Hanover, who took the lead early. Wow.
Gutsy move.
Gutsy, and still ran a super, super strong performance there.
Obviously she had an awesome, for the second week in a row.
Yeah.
She ran amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, she's definitely, she looks to me like the person to beat right now.
Right.
As far as New Hampshire.
Right? Yeah.
She's just so far,
So
she's on
strong.
fire. Yep.
And then you look at the Oyster River team, and I think we all kind of talked last week about how we had some questions about where kind of everybody would land.
Never mind.
Holy moly. Their fifth was in 2023.
That's
fast.
That's amazing.
That's fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so at the end of the season, the D2 championship, could they have an entire top 5 under 20?
Yeah.
That's
right.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
really
even their 6 and 7 was the 6 and the 7 both ran 21:08. They came in right together.
That's a great team.
Yeah, it is a great team, and they're young.
Oh.
So that's really exciting. I mean, both Hanover and Oyster River ran super, super strong performances. They would have beat us in the large school race.
Yeah,
Both of them.
they're just awesome teams.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun sometimes, I think, seeing the smaller, it's so easy to be dominant as a large school, and sometimes it's fun to see the smaller schools come in and kind of give it to the big schools a little bit.
Right. And I think we should mention Madeline Lane, who's a freshman and ran an 18:57.
Just hauling.
I've been coaching.
Okay, hold on though.
What?
You think Suki would have broke 19 if she was in that race?
I-
or in the large school race?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Speculate.
We'll see about later in the season.
Yeah,
But
she's gonna get a shot.
She will get a shot. But I don't think I've ever had. I've been coaching for 24 years. I don't think I've ever had a freshman run under 19 at Manchester Invitational.
It's incredible.
I've had freshmen under 19, but it took till the championship season. So
exciting.
that is just outstanding for Hopkinton.
We also got to mention Messinic.
Right.
they're tiny, and they're in the top 10 right now. I mean, they always have a good program.
Right,
Like,
right.
it's not,
They know what
it's
they're
not
doing
a
over
huge
there.
surprise,
We
right?
know
In
that.
the sense that like Messina is always one of the top like D3 schools, but like, man, they're in the top 10 in the state right now. That's so
Right.
amazing.
Yeah, so kudos to their coach too, Mike Smith,
Yeah.
who definitely has the good stuff going over
Fellow
there.
contributor on the website.
Right. That's really outstanding for them.
Yep.
Yeah,
Follow
I
their
just
Instagram.
saw them. They raced the Jerry Blair invite at Belmont last night.
Oh, yeah.
And so I went to cover that, and they had 1, 2, 3, and then 7 and where are we here? 8 maybe. So yeah, they're killing it right now.
That's awesome. So kudos to them.
Yeah, it's impressive. So how about the boys' side? Watching Hanover's Lucian Gleiser, I think that's how you say it. He took the win, which, it says right here on my little notes thing that says surprise. I wasn't surprised. He was somebody coming into the season that, like, I think over the course of last year, he improved a lot, and he came in, the other when I talked to the Pinkerton Londonderry boys, they know what's going on in the state.
Yeah.
And he was somebody that they were saying I should watch. And I was like, oh, I know, I'm going to be watching him. And now it's coming true here.
Right.
Anytime you can win any of the races at Manchester, man, you're clearly on the right path.
Right. So they're a small school too, to be fielding these types of teams and athletes. It's unbelievable.
And then Guilford as this freshman, I've seen him a couple of times now. Man, this kid's awesome. Michelli Howland Velakis, I hope I said it right.
You did much better than I would.
Yeah, you think so? All right. Well, if I said it wrong, I apologize. And just know I think you're incredible. You're having an amazing season. I remember we were at Bobcat the first week, and he was like one of the top finishers of Bobcat. And I was like, where did Guilford get? Like, I thought they graduated their really good kid. This kid I think he was second or third.
Wow.
And he's just a freshman, and he's crushing it out there.
That's wild with boys when you have freshmen that are in the running that strong.
Yeah, I feel like my freshmen usually look like they're 10.
Yeah.
And this
Well, it
guy,
takes them
this
some
kid,
time,
he's strong, and he's just like great form, and he's having an awesome season so far.
Awesome. So cool. So cool.
Yeah,
Anything else to add?
Go ahead. Well, he came second at Bobcat, like you said, right behind Redmond, and then
good company.
Yeah, and then he won, I think, one of the invitationals that Guilford went to the next weekend, and then was third overall in the small school race with a 16:16 at Manchester, which I'm pretty sure is one of the fastest guys freshman times we've seen in a while. I know. I think Aiden ran like 16:13 his freshman year. So, that's pretty crazy.
Right? Yeah. Awesome. That is really, really cool. Remember when we used to get those booklets when we go to Manchester Invitational with everybody's pictures?
That was like a highlight, was going through and picking through the old booklets.
Oh, that was wild.
Oh, we're dating ourselves again, Amy.
No.
When we were still, they would give us paper with pictures.
They didn't have year records though. Those were just like the winners of the meets and stuff.
And they always, I always liked looking at the front because the very first thing was always the course records.
Right.
And then a picture of the two
still
current at that time course record holders.
I wish I could find one of those because I could bring it and like show you guys.
Oh, man.
Like,
so we don't look like crazy people.
Yeah. When things are on paper. Yeah. Anyways, but anything else to add there?
Hanover and South Egan again. Boy,
yeah.
Two really strong small schools in that race, and Hanover, man, they're having a great year. Mm-hmm. It'll be fun to see them at like meet a champions and stuff like that.
Oh, totally. I just love the D2 teams just have been, in the past decade, just so strong, like so strong and awesome, and it just makes us all better. It elevates us all, so it's so great.
All right, how about large school? You want to talk about the ladies' side, Champlain Valley?
Holy moly, wowzers! Okay, so there, I looked up. Well, first of all, they were second in New England last year, and they're always
awesome,
always awesome, and so deep.
It's like out in the middle of nowhere,
right?
They get like national rankings, like somewhat regularly.
Yeah, it's
like,
really
what a
cool.
program.
Yeah, what are they ranked? Are they ranked third in the region right now?
When I
Or
looked
they
at the
were?
last iStat ranking, they were third in the
Mhm.
region, but unfortunately that was before Manchester.
Right.
They will update it again, I
Sure.
think, shortly. Sometime
So,
in
I
2
mean, they're,
days.
outstanding. Their fifth girl was 1948, and they had two under 20. So Alice Cradell ran in 1835, and
Just
Estella
cooking.
Laird,
I would say Laird, yeah.
1851.
Yeah.
Wowza.
Yeah, that's
That's
great.
what I just put in there. In my notes, I said, folks, wowza. Because outstanding. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to be tough to beat. So,
And if I recall, the two teams that were ahead of them, so they do the Northeast rankings,
Yeah.
which doesn't count New York for whatever reason. New York
Right.
gets its own thing.
yeah.
But in the Northeast, the only two schools that were ahead of them were not New England schools. It was somebody from New Jersey, I think, and somebody from Pennsylvania, maybe.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
they're
Yeah.
looking primed.
We could have seen maybe even like the top five teams in New England at this race this past weekend. I don't know.
Not including Mass.
Yeah.
'cause
Yes,
they
not
don't
including.
They
Yeah.
don't like us.
So, I mean,
They're
but
too cool.
yeah, we got to switch that schedule because it's not a true New England's, but that's another conversation for another day. But
Oh man, do we want to go off on that one day?
oh yeah, we could.
Maybe
but,
we need to invite a Mass coach in here and be like, defend this.
Right. So, I just would say, like, obviously we were pretty psyched, at Pinkerton with our performance. We just go in there looking for a dress rehearsal. We don't really have any team goals per se. So I was just really proud of everybody for having, really strong races and attacking the course. Like, really, it's about getting some confidence.
Obviously,
and I feel like we did that.
Your top runner, Contessa, had a great day.
Yeah. She was first in D1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was hauling.
Yeah. I feel like she's definitely a hill runner, so that suits her
She does
really well.
And she was second at D1s last year, right? Only.
Yes. And it just was a very well executed race. She's getting smart, about racing and racing her competition. So
And I think probably of the courses that we run, that's the one that rewards that the most, because it does. You got to run it smart. Otherwise that course will hit you hard.
Right. So, yeah. So I can't point to anyone on my team that I thought could have run better, really. I mean, that's what it boils down to.
Yep.
So it was a great day for us. I was pretty pumped. I think the Bedford team, can't ever be counted out. I mean, we know that they're strong. And Fiona had a great day.
Yep.
So I think, they're definitely one to watch as they kind of progress through the season. We know Dover was missing somebody. So I know
I didn't know that. You just told me.
Yeah. They're missing McIntyre, I believe. Yeah, without McIntyre. So I think that they're going to be much stronger as they go through the season as well. I think, and to see, Concord back in the top 10 at this meet, that's really strong. We know that they have a large team. They're always bringing a large group of kids to the competition. And I think, if they get the right mix, they're always somebody to compete. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And Kudalindis, she won D1s last year, and she had a great race. So I'm going to shout out to her as well. Yeah. So awesome race on the large school side.
All right. And then the boys race was, boy, like, we got a show. We had the number 2 runner in the country, Byron Grievous, was in the race. And he did not disappoint. They took that race up pretty quick and got a bunch of guys under 5 minutes for the first mile. And it was like, oh boy.
Crazy.
Yeah. Like, I guess we're not screwing around today. And but now just watching him, he's just such a smooth runner. He's one of those guys that just never looks tired.
Mm-hmm.
God, I wish I was like that.
I hear he's pretty smart too. That's the word.
He's in Phillips Exeter, right? You'd like to think so.
Yeah.
But,
I just want to point out with Byron, like, because I couldn't go to Manchester because I went to Ocean State, but I was watching like the live results, and they have all the mile splits, and so he went through the mile in 4:59, right?
Yep.
With Gavinis,
Hansen, Giardina, all right there.
Lano. Yeah.
Yep, Lano, all 4:59 through the mile, right? And then Byron runs a 5:04 to the 2 miles.
Stop it.
See, on that
Stop
all
it.
uphill. It's all uphill and he ran
Right?
5:04.
So there was there's a big
mile.
group with him through the mile, and then at the 2 mile, he goes through in 10:03. Gavinis is 10:11, Hansen 10:20, Giardina 10:19.
Those dudes were all running so well.
Yeah,
and getting
I mean
killed.
they run what, like 5:10, 5:15 on the second mile,
Yeah,
which is
on
like
the second
unbelievable
mile
at
of the course.
Manchester.
That's so impressive.
And Byron's was a 5:04, barely even slows down on that second mile. And then
I know
the final
when I
mile
wrote
he
the
splits like a
when I wrote the read,
4:30.
yeah, his last 1.1 was at 4:33
Oh my
pace.
gosh.
Yeah.
I brought up a running calculator. I was like, come on, man.
I love that we have those splits because we don't usually get
Oh, I know,
that.
that's
You
such
know,
a
like
cool
we literally
feature.
send
Shout out
kids
to Millennium Running for
Yeah,
getting
that
us
was
really
awesome.
good race splits.
We send
It's very
kids and
fun.
they have to
Thanks, Sean.
like sprint up to the top of the hill to try to record them and stuff. And this
Yeah.
is just so great. And
It is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's such a cool feature.
I mean,
and
but
it's instant. It's not even like, that you just sit there and
Right.
boop, 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 they just start showing up on your phone.
you know what's wicked cool too is, and we use this as a teaching tool, and you can actually see where your team was at a place they were in the first mile, and then in what place we were in the second mile,
Yeah.
and in third. So you can actually say, guys, like we started too hard, not hard enough, just right. Like you can actually see the teams shift places over the different miles, which that's a stat I don't know that I've ever even seen. So
To give a quick shout out to my own team, that was something they were super successful about. Like when Coach Smith and I were looking at the stuff, afterwards and looking at the splits, like we moved up a ton
Yeah.
as the race went on. Like
yeah,
our score dropped by like from the first mile to the finish. Our score dropped like 150 points.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh.
that's huge.
They didn't just run okay in the back half of the course. They ran awesome in the back
Right,
half of the course.
right.
They were passing people.
That's the way to race it.
Well, and exactly
Mhm.
that course, man. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, that's
know?
that's awesome.
I don't care where you're at the mile. The matters in the
Right.
end is where you're at when you finish, right?
Seriously.
And
Well-
but yeah, so that was fun to watch. But even again, Tam Gavinus also ran and all. Like that was like a top 5 time ever, and he lost.
It's crazy.
I think he would have won this thing like any year, but
Right,
this year basically.
Right. Yeah, but everybody that's in the race when they're, that just makes you faster,
Yeah.
right? So better competition just makes you better.
It's so exciting to have a couple of guys in the area, and coming up, we're gonna talk about Black Bear. They're both going this weekend to Black Bear, so we get to
That
have a
is
little,
so cool.
little round 2 this weekend at Co Brown.
That's something
Yeah.
I love about
guys racing
Black Bear is that Phillips Exeter does go to that meet. Because like it's typically one of the only like big New Hampshire meets that Phillips Exeter actually runs at, which is pretty cool. Like last year we saw Byron break the course record by like 20-30 seconds, I think.
Is that gonna happen again?
And speaking of breaking a course record and still losing, so last year Gandini, right, had the course record, breaks his own course record, and comes in third in that race.
That's wild. That's so cool. I mean, I actually
But it does
love
make you better. Like
Yeah.
as much as is it cool to get course records? Obviously,
Yeah.
yeah. But like, man,
Yeah.
if whatever keeps you like getting better and better and better,
Right.
and I bet that like those are the kind of losses that you're like, oh, I'm not gonna lose to them
Yeah.
again.
And a course record's only made to be broken, right? So I think
Exactly,
more
right.
so it's like about getting your own PR, right? And like that good competition gets you there. I'm going to shout out to Phillips Exeter's coach, Brandon Newbold, who's a teammate of mine on the Whirlaway Racing team.
Oh, that's awesome. I
Yeah,
didn't know
and he's
that.
a mountain goat. So if anybody can train somebody to run some hills at Derryfield, he's the man.
I wish people
Yeah.
called me a mountain goat. That
Yeah.
sounds like a really nice compliment.
Yeah.
So funny story. Newbold was actually my middle school coach
Stop it.
when he first moved to Nottingham. He took a job as the Nottingham elementary school cross country coach.
And little did you know the person that you had, like, where as your coach, what with such
Right.
knowledge and skill.
What do we call it? It's a glow up, right?
Right?
Did he did the ultimate glow up from middle school coach to like
That's incredible.
possible national champion.
That's
high school level, like.
incredible.
All right, so just a couple more notes from the large school race.
Yeah, yeah,
Man,
yeah.
it's been fun watching South this season. They
Yeah, deep team.
Yeah, I challenged that I feel like they ran into last year was they started off hot and then kind of cooled down towards the end, and then Pinkerton obviously ended up beating them at D1s, and it feels like they learned.
Mhm.
They took something away from that and said, all right, these are the mistakes we made, A, B, C, and D. Well, how do we fix them? And they are hot right now. They crushed the flat course, they crushed the mountain. Like, oh boy, are they're looking primed to be really relevant. except that these Vermont teams.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Vermont's just they got something this year going on in Vermont.
Yeah. Well, and what I've noticed about Nashua is that they're really tight, right? So they must, at practice, they must really be pushing each other, right? And that's like the special sauce. Right?
Especially like I know you got brothers on that team.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that must be like oh my brother, I have to get him.
Yeah. So they definitely got something special happening over there.
And then the big surprise I think of the day was Salem was ended up ahead of Pinkerton, and man, that's young again. They got their top 6 guys. None of them they're not seniors. They're all coming back next year. And it's fun to watch really young teams because sometimes they make mistakes because they're still learning, but they didn't. It's the short spot and the short answer on this one. They ran really well, and they just seem to be getting better as the season goes on, and it's really exciting.
Their area is very flat, so for them to run really well at Derryfield, that they're doing something right over there because I feel like where they're training,
like the one hill.
Yeah, it's really flat over there.
It's not even all that big.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But then, so we also had some exciting runners to watch. Obviously, Giardino was the big one. He was top New Hampshire guy. He had a great run and seems to be primed to just keep getting better and better as the season goes on. He's already run faster than he did D1s last year, which is pretty exciting, I think, for him. Lano ran well. Redmond ran well. Castellano ran well. Christensen Kraft ran well. Like there was really some awesome New Hampshire runners. Like, a lot of guys under 16. Like, and it was exciting to just kind of see how that all played out. And again, I can give a shout out to my London area guys. Again, I got the sophomore squad. We got that. This is my first rebuild year. We've been super lucky that anytime we thought we were maybe going into a year this one might be a tough one, someone would just come up, decide over the summer no, I'm gonna take this serious now, and all of a sudden, this guy would go from our 10th guy and be our 4th.
Oh, that's awesome!
And we won that dice roll way too many times, and finally it come up in this game. And so, but we got these great sophomores, and they just improved a lot, and it was fun to have them jump into the top 10 this week.
That's really cool.
Yeah, we were definitely staring from the outside a couple times.
Right.
So to show up and not just go into the list, but we hop all the way up to 9th has been pretty exciting.
And it's a steep competition, a lot of teams.
This year.
And I'm really excited for these individuals Lee and O'Neill from Bedford, Silva and Grew from my team. I'm excited for us in D1 to be able to race the girls in D2 too, because I feel like that's just going to make them as individuals stronger when we get to come together. So it's cool to see them separate, but it'll be cool to see them together. It's
a little far away still, but meet a champion. I feel like this is going to be a year where we maybe see some times this year where we see them start finishing and they start popping up on Lancer and we go, ooh boy.
And now we have some experience at Alvern, so now that we've raced it a few times, and I feel like the kids will be more confident going out harder. I mean, it's pretty fast course if it's mowed enough. So
that is a key. It does have to be well mowed.
Yeah.
It's been funny watching that course evolve too, because I remember that first year, if you went out on the trails, they were super, super soft. And so in my brain, it was a slow course because those first 2 years, it kind of was. But man, as it's gotten run on and kind of flattened down, it went from a slow course to a fast course.
Do such a good job maintaining it. Yeah.
I love seeing good times there.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I was originally really salty when it got moved from Nashua because I loved seeing the kids run awesome times at the end of the season. But now it's a fast course too.
Right.
So woohoo!
Agreed.
Yay, fast times.
Right. So this weekend we get some big meets coming up.
We do. We got Black Bear, which I already mentioned a little bit. At least I know on the boys' side, we get to see those top 2 guys again from Phillips Exeter and then Phillips Academy. Presumably Phillips Exeter was going to win again, but hey, it's never guaranteed, right? That's what's fun about the sport.
So fun. We're heading up to the Kennett Invite. We're going to the North Country.
Yeah. You guys did people jump in a river or a lake or something last year?
Yeah, the river because it's nice and cool.
Yeah.
It was hot. It was kind of warm last year, though. I think it's going to be cooler. So
it's good. It's good recovery,
It is.
Yeah. But I know last year we saw Portsmouth there. Yep. I'm trying to think of what other D1 teams we saw there.
It's a very random set. I was looking at the entries yesterday. I was like, that is an interesting squad of schools that goes to the map. It's kind of all over the map.
Yeah, we look forward to a little road trip. So
it's
that'll
fun,
be
right?
fun. Yeah.
It's fun.
And
we're taking the weekend off at Londonderry. We're just nothing, which I think is great. It's nice to not just, from a nice to have a Saturday off occasionally. I have kids and it's fun to get to spend time with them. But I think it's great to give. I think you need a mental rest from racing sometimes. I don't think sometimes we always realize just how mentally it wears you down to race weekend after weekend after weekend.
Sure, because I think just as hard as it is on your body, it's just as hard to get yourself mentally prepared and to deal with whether it doesn't feel like a good race when you finish or you're really pumped about the race, right? Like there's a lot that goes into that, you know? So
you got to go to the pain cage when you're out there, and especially a course like Manchester where like you go in.
And we know like typically our kids that run cross country are the best students in the school too. So they're not only killing it out on the courses, but they're killing it on their course work.
Yeah.
Right. So they're using their brain all the time. So having a little break is not a bad thing.
Yeah, so we're excited, especially again, we got this really young squad of guys, and we don't want to over race them. That's kind of the idea, right? I don't want to over race them, so it's nice to give them weekend off and kind of focus on doing some workouts. And you can also feel like in a week like that, do some different types of workouts, and you don't have to like be like, oh man, they're going to be really beat for Saturday. So you can kind of like throw in maybe some little extra speed work, which might typically leave you with tired legs, right? Or hills, and this week, we kind of hit them with some different stuff, which I think is valuable also.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think related to that is just a lot of times if you just race every single weekend, it does have an impact on what you can do in terms of a training schedule, because everything is kind of, you're just fitting stuff around all of these races. And if you do have, now we're kind of like going towards the middle of the season where you can have like a solid training block if you take a weekend off of racing and get an actual bye Ian get an actual nice 2-week section of training that isn't necessarily based solely around your racing schedule. It's a nice break. We've moved to more of almost like a college type schedule where we don't do any weekday meets anymore. So we just do the ones on Saturday, which I think is just nice so that, we can get that solid training in, and then they're not mentally preparing twice a week, which is what it used to be like. Gosh, when I was in high school, we had every Tuesday and Saturday, I think. So, he's back. Oh, you don't want to forget that. He's got a big field trip. He's going to pick some apples. So he's got to go. Fun. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then there's there's a meet in Maine on the New England course. And so that's pretty cool. If you want to take the trip all the way up to Belfast, Maine, then there's that meet as well. Are some New Hampshire teams going there? I'm not sure about that. Are you aware? I don't know. Okay. I don't believe so. Okay. Yeah. We talked about it, but it's, 5 hours away from where we are? Yeah, I think somewhere in between 4 and 5, depending on how fast you drive. Right. When you start driving into Maine and there's no towns anymore and they're just numbers, it's like a long way up there. So we opted not to this year, but yeah, that should be cool if anyone is going out there, and we want to hear what you thought of the course. So give us some kind of updates on that. Yeah, afterwards. I think, like I said, I don't know of any New Hampshire teams that are going up there, but if there are, definitely they're going to have a bit of an advantage just previewing the course. And it's an interesting course. It's interesting. Yeah, I actually didn't run that one in high school because it was, I think the year after I graduated, they went to Maine. So yeah, I've never been up there. So we've only gone there 1 year too. So before that, it was in Cumberland, Maine. I really liked that course. The one in Belfast is definitely, it's interesting. It's different. There's some narrow trails. There's a lot of tight turns, and some real momentum changer hills, short, steep hills, short, steep downhills. So definitely having that course preview is huge. So that's definitely an advantage. If you're driving 5 hours up there, it's worth it. It's definitely worth it.
So I think the last thing we were kind of floating around talking about was just, and looking at Manchester Invitational this past weekend, it kind of brought the question to our minds about like having deep JV teams and like what that sort of means to the team overall. Because we saw some teams like we know Hanover, we know Bedford, on the girls' side, just at least has really deep JV teams. And what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, it's beneficial in just a number of different ways because obviously, you can have people kind of step in
Oh, did I
for.
lose? Oh,
Nope, you're back.
there you are.
Like you can have people step in with like injuries or sickness or like just anything basically that comes up, but also I think there's definitely something to be said for having just a big group to train with.
Right.
So you're not just training with a couple other people in workouts or even in races and stuff. Like you have just a big group that all can run together, and I think it just makes the whole team better. And then like you kind of just get deeper and deeper and deeper, and it just continues.
I think that it also is an indication of the fact that kids are really enjoying being a part of that program, right? Like if you can recruit a lot of kids and they stay with the program and then and draw other kids in, and it shows that you're just doing something that kids are having fun, right? And if we're not enjoying what we're doing, like why are we here, right? And cross country is hard. We don't make any mistakes about that. Like we know, it is challenging mentally and physically, and to have these teams that have 40 50 kids on the team, that just shows that you are able to create an environment where people want to work hard, and it's also fun for them to do so it's really cool to see some of these teams from New Hampshire, like that are smaller schools. I mean, even Bedford, a D1 school, but not a huge school with really, really large teams. It just shows that they're really creating an environment where people feel welcomed.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that a little bit last week where, especially like with Hanover, where like to have such a deep team, especially at some of these smaller schools, you look at like the Messinic girls, like that just shows you kind of the team like culture that they have, where they're getting all these kids who want to do this sport and want to take it seriously and do well at it, because it is really hard.
Right.
And it doesn't get a ton of attention. Like it's not like a big deal where it's like, oh, I want to join the cross country team because it's super cool and exciting.
Yeah. But what I love about cross country the most, and my favorite thing as a coach, is the fact that I can see everybody progress, and I can see everybody meet their goals and have success no matter who they are on the team. And so I always am telling the girls, like, bring people with you, like, no matter what you think about their experience or whatever, because we can always help somebody grow and become a better runner, right? Like we don't all have to have be coordinated and have technical skills, but we just have to work hard, and we can all see success. So that's absolutely my favorite thing about coaching cross country and running in general, is just the fact that it's like you get what you give to the sport, right? You give that effort and you get it back, and even tenfold.
Yeah, and I mean it's like so
hard.
easily measurable too. Like you can look at anybody on the team, you look at their times throughout the whole season, and you're like, look, like you got so much better, and
Right.
there it is, like right in front of you. There's like the numbers say, like you got better.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
Which, like a lot of other sports, it's just kind of harder to see that progression.
Mm-hmm.
And also the fact that just like everybody on the team has the opportunity for that same progression.
Right. Yeah. It's so cool. And I just love that we have a sport where we can really do this for the rest of our lives, you know? I mean, it's just really cool that like I can go out there and compete with a team now and I'm not young. So, I mean, it's just and I have that for myself for forever, you know, and I've made lifelong friends with that connection. So, I really give kudos to those coaches that are creating these big teams in this atmosphere and giving the gift of running to so many kids at their school because it's really a special thing.
Yeah. So speaking of, the whole running culture and community, I want to go back to what we talked about right at the beginning, which is getting some cool guests on here.
Yes. Yes. We're circling
Like,
back to that. That's how we should leave this.
yeah, we wanna have some New Hampshire cross country alumni on here. Would be super cool. People who have continued being involved in either competing or just in the running community in some way after they've left high school. Would be super cool. So if anybody has suggestions of somebody who fits that criteria and wants to be on the podcast, let us know.
And to that too, if there's a topic you want to know more about, and we could try to get a guest that could help us with that, or we just talk about a topic too. So don't want to take away from, yes, we want some alumni, we want even runners that are running currently. But yeah, that if we need to, if there's something you want to learn about and we can get an expert on that can join us, we want this to be conversations about running, New Hampshire cross country, running in general, all things to do with that.
Yeah, definitely. We can, get some people on to just talk about a lot of the different aspects of running, because there's just, it seems like a very simple sport, but also there's a lot to it. So
it sure is. Yeah. So with that, I think that we are all set for this week and we're heading into the weekend. I'm really excited to see what this weekend's meets bring us. Any other thoughts from you, Davio?
I don't know. I'm pretty excited. We got a lot of big meets this weekend, so we'll have, I think, plenty to talk about next week.
Well.
But yeah, it was. It's getting to that exciting time of the year where all sorts of some big stuff is happening.
Right. So I'm going to say to all of our New Hampshire runners out there listening, make sure you're getting your sleep, make sure you're eating the right things. And the big talk this week on my team was making sure you're not sharing water bottles or chapstick or any of those things because the colds are going around and we want to stay healthy. So there's my advice for the weekend.
Yeah, it's getting to that time of the year. It's game time. So
it is. So I don't know about you, but I love New Hampshire cross country.
I love New Hampshire cross country too.
Yeah. So hey, you guys, we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.